And welcome to The Bottom Line, where we bring in the top experts to break down the most pressing business and economic stories of the day. The world is discussing the results of the first round of the French snap parliamentary elections. National Rally received 33% of the votes, but we still don't know whether Marine Le Pen's party will have the majority in the National Assembly. I am now joined by Professor Waldemar Karpa from the Department of Economics at Warsaw's Koziemski University. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today.
So, when French President Emmanuel Macron called the snap elections, the market reaction was rather stronger than what it is today. We've just witnessed the first round of the parliamentary elections, and the response has rather been positive. So what are investors picking up on today?
I think that investors are extremely careful about the entire situation, and there is plenty of uncertainty around this election, since we have many constituents that will have the second round next Sunday, and so that a political party must decide which group to join. I mean, which candidate should be withdrawn from the from this group, and so that you know, when you withdraw a candidate, you cannot expect that already the voters will follow. So that you cannot postpone your vote, you cannot withdraw without any consequences. So that is, there's a high level of uncertainty in here, and so I think that there is this reaction of market is pretty much what we should expect, and what we are seeing right now is for the moment okay. I think that the reaction will be extremely interesting already tomorrow, when all the lists will be or should be ready for the second round.
Okay, and so we see that some estimates have placed 100 billion euros as a price tag on the National Rally's promises. Jordan Bardella, Marine Le Pen's right-hand man, some say the Prime Minister in waiting, recently said that he wants to be fiscally responsible. Does this mean that the party is apprehensive of the markets?
I mean, you know, the taxes are extremely sensitive topic in this country. I think that people are fed up with fiscal pressure, and so that I think this goal of Jordan Bardella to lower the tax burden is pretty much what people expect, and so that is something in favor. However, it is somehow strange that during this election campaign, there was very little discussion about how to finance this tax rebate. So once again, this is a very important topic. However, the fiscal pressure, especially for households and then for companies, is something extremely sensitive in this country. So this is more of mental attitude towards taxes than anything else.
Certainly. And then France's debt servicing costs are soaring. We know that they have actually surpassed the French defense budget, and they're allegedly supposed to reach 80 billion euros in 2027. So we know that Bardella not only doesn't have fiscal space, but he also has to make cuts. So how is he actually going to finance his policies?
So I think what's very interesting in here is not only the role of Bardella, because he may have different ideas, and so that he may offer different solutions. However, how to finance this, as you have pointed this out, is very important. I think that the first thing is to boost a little bit the growth, because basically not only France but also the euro area is lagging behind. Not only Central Europe, as for instance Poland, but also Asian countries. And I think that in order to finance this, they need to boost the behavior of companies and innovation. Without that, there's absolutely no way to finance public administration and then everything that is financed from the public purse in France. And this is huge. And still, when you look at public hospital, at education, there are missing people. So somehow you need to finance this, and you need to find staff for this, and obviously you need to have money. And in order to find money, I think that the best way is to, boost the life of enterprises, boost the entrepreneurship, and so that France starts to be again more competitive at the global scale.
So you raised some very interesting points. They're very relevant for economic growth. But how do you implement that? How do you make it happen?
Well, there can be a win-win solution, but always there is a trade-off. If you lower taxes for the enterprises, then somehow you need to find other solutions to finance this money. However, when you have an increased activity of companies, then obviously you may encounter the, so to say, effects of scale in terms of taxation. So you can collect more taxes from this higher activity of companies. So this is one solution. The other solution is to, invest more in competitiveness, as I told you before. And I think that for this, they need, not only France, but also accompanied by European Union, they need to invest massively in research and development. There is no other way. And still right now, if you look at the level, this differential in financing innovation between Europe and then US and Asia, we are lagging behind, and this gap is huge.
We had Eric Nielsen, UniCredit's chief economist, on our show not so long ago, and he said that one of the real risks to France and actually the whole Eurozone economy would be if the French debt was degraded to what he described as junk status. And that is actually still quite a long way off. And that actually the National Rally government wouldn't actually change that, and at least not in the near future. What do you think of that and his comments?
Well, I think that this is a very long-term risk. It has a very long tail, so this is not something that may come out really quickly. However, what is important right now is the situation when the national finance law is not being adopted by the mid-September. It means that somehow either the previous finance law will be prolonged, or they will find some other solution, but basically it means that somehow the state will be, inactive. So it imposes somehow huge risk on the country. And obviously, in that sense, the rating by rating agencies in that case may go down. So this is a risk. So I think that we will see this later on in September. But either way, I think that cohabitation, so this, let's say I'm having a president from one party and then the parliamentary majority, which is slightly different, this strange situation, by the way, the situation is not the first time that is happening in France. This will be the fourth time that is happening. So we shouldn't be afraid of this. I think that for the moment, markets are behaving pretty rationally, and I expect that the market will continue to behave this way. France, either way, is a huge country. This is not going to go bankrupt very easily. Obviously, there are some systemic risks, but if there are those systemic risks more and more apparent, then France can be backed by a European central bank. They have this very special transmission mechanism. So, we'll see. And then we need to remember that still there is Christine Lagarde, who is at the head of the European Central Bank, and so that she's the former French Minister of Finance. I don't think that Europe and basically European Central Bank will leave France in very difficult position.
Yes, as we wrap up our conversation, I wanted to ask you about the ECB and this transmission protection instruments in French bonds. If you could just explain to our viewers this instrument per se, and perhaps the impact that it might have on the Eurozone.
Well, so if the debt of a specific country is no longer sustainable, then in that case, European Central Bank will buy this let's say, excess debt from the market so that they will protect the financial situation of the country. So this is a very simple mechanism. However, obviously, it depends on the scale on which it can be applied. Well, I don't think that this mechanism will be applied, but there is, at least in theory and at least in legal regulation, there is this possibility that if needed, it can be applied. So somehow France and other countries in the Eurozone can be backed when they are in this difficult situation.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us on The Bottom Line. That was Professor Waldemar Karpa.
Thank you for having me.
From Warsaw Koźmiński University, here with us on The Bottom Line. And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Business Arena. I was your host, Marie Caso. Make sure you join us again here on Wednesday at 5:10 on TVP World. Goodbye.